no pun intended or pun intended, the long and the short of all that is that it really helps create a board that both rides long and rides short. So just real quick on the geometry then. We have 3 zones of side cut on this board. We've got a midsection side cut, and on this midsection side cut we have a really tight radius that extends from the center of the board to just beyond the binding mounting areas. And right out here, it terminates in a transition zone, very similar to what transition zones you guys are familiar with, which ends side cuts that we've been doing for years. So a deep side cut in the center body of the board that transitions into another zone, a second zone of side cut in the nose of the board, and another zone of side cut in the tail of the board. Another feature to point out when we're talking about geometry is these midsection transition zones, and these are the things you see when you look down. When you grab this board, you look down the side cut, you're going to see this transition zone just outside the binding areas, right through here. Obviously on the camera it's very difficult, but when you guys get this board and look down the edge, you'll see exactly what I mean by that. And that transition zone, as I said, is a smooth transition to complete this side cut and initiate this next side cut in the tip and this next side cut in the tail. So the geometry of it, again, understand that a little bit, but what it does is when you're riding the board, kind of low angle, mellow, slow riding, you're generally riding the board pretty flat or up on a slight edge. And when you put that board up on a slight edge and you pressure it up a little bit, what's happening is you're engaging the side cut in the midsection of the board predominantly. When you engage that side cut, this acts as your transition zones. Your turn initiation comes from this mid-board transition zone. So what that means is you've got a board with a really short running length, it's 10 centimeters beyond your binding mounting area, and a really deep side cut. So this board is going to turn really quickly, really precisely, really fun and loose. So as you start to accelerate or as you start to load up that board, what you're going to do is you're going to tip the board up at a steeper angle, and at that point, when you load this board up, you're engaging the entire length of the board. So now you go from a really short running length board to a full length running length board where the radius is really defined as this widest point in the tip, this widest point in the tail, or right, vice versa, sorry, through the middle point of the board. And if you look at your catalog diagram, you'll see that we've kind of shown you that there's a basic radius that kind of goes through this point, and this point. And that radius is the effective radius when you've engaged the entire running length of the board. And what that performs like is very much like last year's agent board of the same length. It's going to turn just like that board.